Welcome everyone to Truth About Cancer's Global Health News. I'm Ty Bollinger. This is my lovely wife, Charlene.
Hi everybody, and welcome back.
So today we've got several stories that we want to cover that are in the news today regarding your health, regarding cancer, regarding vaccines. But we're going to start out today with an article entitled "Medical Cannabis Infused in Coconut Oil Maximizes Health Benefits." Well, that's a mouthful. So, medical cannabis. We know a lot about medical cannabis. Cannabis has been researched over the years to be shown to be very effective at treating multiple types of cancer. It was a propaganda campaign almost 100 years ago that took this beneficial plant and made it illegal in the United States. And one of the things I learned recently about this is it wasn't technically illegal. What happened with the Marijuana Stamp Act of 1937 was that in order to grow and sell marijuana, you had to purchase a stamp from the U.S. government. And they made the stamps so expensive that no one could afford them. So by default, it became illegal because no one could afford the stamps to make it legal. So that's kind of the story behind that. But let's talk about this, honey. Why coconut oil? Why would they mix it with coconut oil?
The coconut oil helps the cannabis get into the cells. It's a great delivery system. It's fat soluble. So that helps it even when you ingest it. If you take it together orally in the stomach acids wouldn't just destroy it. It would survive that process, almost like a liposomal delivery system into the body, which is phenomenal.
The cannabinoids are actually liposoluble, right? They absorb in fat and it delivers them through the body very effectively. So it's a great delivery system. We've been seeing some articles lately about how unhealthy coconut oil is.
Oh my.
Right? Sponsored by the American Heart Association, which, right?
They make money on vegetable oil.
Yeah, they...
which is not really made from vegetables, but...
It's made from grains, but
right.
That doesn't matter. But regardless, vegetable oil, grain oil, whatever.
Well, we don't grow coconuts in America, right?
Yeah, it's a big market. The vegetable oil market is a huge market.
Corn,
soy, corn oil
canola.
In the United States, canola. Even though the canola is not a plant, really, it's called rapeseed. They changed it because that had a bad connotation.
And that's healthy, or is that the big canola?
It's the big canola, right? So we got corn, canola, and soy, all of three of which are genetically modified. Those are the oils that the American Heart Association is saying are good for you. So
cash crop.
Yeah, take it for what it's worth.
They're making lots of money.
Making lots of money on it, but don't believe, and they'll say, well, it's saturated fat. Well, saturated fat's actually really healthy for you when you get it from something like a coconut. Very healthy, too high in cholesterol, all these different things that you might hear about these saturated fats. Your brain needs cholesterol to operate. One other reason that coconut oil is so healthy is it contains medium chain triglycerides, and those are easily converted by the liver into what's called ketones. And we've all heard of the ketogenic diet, where your body burns fat instead of sugar for energy. It's really essential to get good medium chain and even long chain fats that then go through the liver, and it kind of acts like a wood chipper and turns them into little ketones that your body then uses for energy. Great source of energy.
Yeah, as long as you're not consuming a high sugar, high carbohydrate diet, there are so many benefits of that process. Right now, actually, Ty and I have gone all ketogenic, and it's amazing what it does to your body. I'm pretty excited about this, aren't you, Ty?
Yeah, and one of the reasons that we did this is I recently went up to Boston and interviewed Dr. Thomas Seyfried.
I was going to say this, yes.
Yeah, so he's a Boston College professor, and he's very big into the ketogenic diet and the metabolic mitochondrial theory of cancer. And he explained...
Fascinating.
Very fascinating. He explained to me probably more clearly and succinctly than anybody ever had in the past why ketogenic diet could and should be a staple for most people that have cancer.
So yes, about the ketogenic diet, the amazing thing is when your cell is metabolizing fat, the ketones, it's no longer feeding the cancer cells. Cancer cells cannot live like that. They live off of sugar. So if you cut off the fuel source for the cancer, it's like a deadly bomb in your body, a bomb of health and a bomb of life. And really, before Ty went and got this last interview, we understood a little bit about ketogenic, and Ty has successfully done that in the past. But this is the first time I've done this. I'm really sold on the ketogenic diet, helping the body to eliminate a lot of the toxicity and cutting that sugar off. We all don't realize how much we are eating sugar until we actually cut it completely off, even in our teas or honey or maple syrup, even the healthy things, as a sugar content, we have cut it all off and we're feeling pretty good.
Yeah, and just to be clear on the ketogenic diet, it's not just cutting out refined sugar. It's cutting off carbohydrates
that turn to
sugar, right? So you might hear, well, I'm just going to eat potatoes and rice. Well, that's carbohydrates that will then turn to sugar in your body, and your cancer cells can use that for energy. So the whole purpose of ketogenic diet is to eat really high quality fats, medium proteins, very low carbohydrates below a certain threshold. It's different for different people depending upon who you talk to, but the bottom line is that your body then changes its metabolism into ketosis from burning sugar. And so then you can get rid of the cancer cells in your body. But it's not just refined sugar. It's the carbs that turn to sugar, which was one of the reasons that makes ketogenic diet a little bit hard to do.
It is.
Because we're so used to eating those things that are so tasty.
The standard American diet, how many grains do we eat in a day? We think, oh, we're not eating sugar, but we're eating maybe rice or maybe a little bit of pasta.
Or even fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables. And for me, personally, it's hard when I look at delicious watermelon right now. That's why it won't be a long-term thing for us. But even the delicious watermelon and other things like that, it has a higher carbohydrate content, which then in your body, your cells will not turn off the metabolism of sugar. And that way, when you don't do any grains, any sugar, no carbohydrate, or very low carbohydrates, a high-fat diet, you're feeding your cells, the ketones turn on, and it's like a switch goes off in that cell. All of your cells no longer thrive on sugar, carbohydrates. It's now burning fat. So not only will you be killing the cancer, but potentially losing a lot of fat cells. And where do the toxins hide in your body? They hide in your fat cells. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, and one of the things too to remember is that your normal cells can metabolize ketones and use them for energy very efficiently. It's a great source of energy. Cancer cells are the kind of cells that don't use ketones. So it's almost a selectively toxic diet to cancer cells. The other cells do fine burning ketones. Now again, like Charlene said, it's not something you want to do long term. You want to cycle off and on because you can't have a lot of the good herbs, or not the herbs. We do herbs, but you can't have a lot of the fruits and the vegetables. And even some of the pastas and grains that are healthy to an extent, you can't have those on ketogenic. So you want to cycle off and on of it. Yeah, quinoa you can't have. There's just a lot of things that you can't have on ketogenic. But it's a good thing to cycle on and off of. And it's a really good way to starve cancer cells because they don't use ketone bodies for energy, but your normal cells do.
And lose fat, which is a plus.
This next article, honey, it says, not just for humans, watch CBD oil stop this dog's seizure in under a minute. So we just talked about the combining coconut oil with the cannabinoids in hemp or cannabis to act as a good delivery system. Here's another article about CBD oil stopping a dog's seizure. So kind of describe the video.
Who doesn't love puppies and pets? I mean, how many of us are pet owners? We love these pets like they're our children. So when we see the pets suffering, it makes us suffer, just as if it were our son and daughter in some cases, depending on how long you've had the pet and how much you love the pet. This certain dog it looked like it was maybe 7-10 years old. It's been around, it's probably well loved, but the poor puppy is having seizures. We don't know why, they didn't say, but clearly the dog was in a mode of seizure. His head was shaking, and the pet owner, or maybe a doctor, some kind of assistant, somebody administered cannabis oil, CBD oil, and then they put the camera on the pet right after administering this, and the pet was still shaking a little, and within a minute the pet stopped shaking. It's miraculous the way that heals. The CBD oil comes into the body, and whatever disconnect there is in the cells that are causing this seizure to happen, the receptors in the body receive that oil, and it seems like the communication that was meant to take place naturally is put back in place, and the dog stopped having the seizure. And it was really a beautiful thing, and it gave me a lot of hope. We're actually getting ready to do, Ty is putting together brilliantly, as he always does, the Truth About Cancer series, this time the pet edition. And so we're learning a lot of new information on how to treat pets, and CBD oil is on the top of the list.
Yeah, CBD is oil and THC as well. It's part of what some veterinarians are using. But the way to think about the endocannabinoid system in the body is all cells have endocannabinoid receptors that Charlene was talking about, these receptors. It's kind of like a key slot. And the cannabinoids in cannabis are kind of like the keys. So when you insert the cannabis into the body, these cannabinoids travel through the body, they get to all the cells, and they insert the key into the key slot, or they unlock, right? And so they facilitate cellular communication in the cells. It's kind of the way to think about the endocannabinoid system, and the reason that cannabinoids work is it's like a key fitting into a lock. Now, with this pet that was in seizure, it's not uncommon, it's not unlike the stories that we've heard in the past about children, epileptic children specifically. When I go lecture, there's a slide that I show every time, and it's a little boy in Atlanta, Georgia with his mother that was in 300 epileptic seizures each day till he began using cannabis oil. And it completely wiped out the seizures. So this is just one of the ways that the cannabinoids work in the endocannabinoid system, and they really facilitate communication between the cells. And that kind of leads us to this next story that we want to talk about with cannabis. Read the title of the article and we'll discuss it, sweetie, why this might be applicable to this article as well.
Autistic boy gains ability to speak after just 2 days of CBD oil. Yes, you heard that right. We're all familiar with autism, especially our audience, I know, and a lot of you mommies and daddies out there, you have children that have autism. So it's amazing that after only 2 days of CBD oil, this happened. And I talked to Ty before we got on the camera for you and said, what would you attribute that to, Ty? So what would you attribute that to?
Yeah, and the little boy's name is Kalel Santiago, right? I believe Kalel Santiago. He lives in Puerto Rico, and apparently autistic boy had not spoken before. They give him CBD oil for a couple of days, and he's saying, like, what was the first thing he said?
The first thing they actually heard him say was A-E-I-O-U. That was, he said the vowels, and they were amazed. The teacher recorded this and sent it home to the mother and father, and when they were with the doctor, that's when the boy, another day, the first actual sentence he said was, "I love my mom," in another language. I love my mom.
It looks like Spanish.
Yeah, I love my mom.
Amo mi mama. I love my mama.
So
yeah.
sweet.
Here's the interesting thing about CBD. So as we mentioned, the cannabinoids in cannabis, THC and CBD are both cannabinoids. THC is the psychoactive one that everybody's afraid of, that if you smoke it, you get high. But the reality is there's a lot of different types of cannabinoids in cannabis oil. And one of the things that they all do is they help facilitate cellular communication. They're also very anti-inflammatory too. So, you know, one of the things that we're hearing about autism is we've got children with inflamed brains, right? The brains are inflamed, they're swollen, and that impairs communication as well. So it could have acted on at least, you know, a couple of different pathways, helping to squelch the inflammation and also helping to facilitate that cellular communication. And the little boy started talking. Just really amazing.
And another, just a little side note on this story, and I mentioned to Ty off camera, that it's amazing that this boy, for 3 years, there was no language, no talking, and they were dealing with cancer. And they were treating the cancer. And once they got that to a place where they wanted to focus on the behavior, because they were having behavior issues, flapping of the hands and other things, tiptoeing that were unusual, they started looking at the behavior and found that there was an issue with autism. So when they did a lot of research, they found the CBD oil and started administering it for the boy in 2 days, as we said. The boy said A-E-I-O-U. He's 3. Now, mamas and daddies, how many of your 3-year-olds know the vowels? So somebody was teaching this little boy. And just to give you hope out there, this little boy wasn't talking. He was autistic, but he was getting it. He was understanding it. He just was not able to communicate and verbalize. The CBD oil put those passages back together for him in a way that he was finally able to verbalize just a simple vowels, and then I love my mom. Yeah. What a beautiful thing. Yeah. And CBD, cannabis, I believe, really is one of God's greatest gifts to us. It does such wonders, and I just am so encouraged reading this, and I think that everybody should have cannabis oil in their medicine chest. Yeah.
So here's an interesting thing about this. They were treating his cancer, and I know he underwent chemo and radiation, your conventional treatments, and then he was diagnosed with autism. And
but that was yeah.
It was afterwards. But yeah. he's gonna have subsidiary, peripheral, whatever you want to call, effects from the CBD oil on his cancer too. Okay, so maybe they're using it and it's causing him to speak, but I guarantee you he's getting positive benefits on his cancer from the CBD oil. Now, the cannabinoid in cannabis that's been studied the most heavily is THC, but they're doing a lot of studies today on CBD oil, and they're finding it to be very effective at preventing and even turning around cancer cells in the body. Yeah. So I know they're going to get, and one of the things that you mentioned, I think one of the most frustrating things from what I've read and the people that I've interviewed that are experts for autistic children is they are understanding, but they can't communicate. And so they're getting it, but they can't tell you that they're getting it. And it's just really frustrating for a lot of autistic children to know in their head what they want to say, but then they're unable to do it. And so, you know, this is just a real blessing that this family had the CBD oil that allowed this child to begin speaking. Because many autistic children are thought of as being like retarded or slow, and the reality is they're not. They just have a problem communicating, but they're getting it mentally. They just can't let you know that they're getting it, and that would be a very frustrating situation. So
for the children, and that's why a lot of the kids we know have fits. They're just locked up and so frustrated. They want to tell you what they're thinking or what they're feeling, but they're just not able to. So this is very encouraging. And another side note to this story is that the child was receiving chemotherapy and radiation for the cancer. But then when they saw the autism, that's when the parents started researching. And when the parents started researching, they found CBD oil. And within 2 days was when they saw these results. Now the parents are going to do everything differently. And that's why we do what we do. We want you to have this information before you get the diagnosis. So when the diagnosis comes, whether it's cancer, autism, or anything else, you'll be armed with life-saving information that will make all the difference to your family. So basically, that's why we share what we share with you, so that you can learn the truth that sets you free. We've learned, and it's our joy to bring it to you and to share it with you and to watch you just find such joy and freedom as we have. And it's just like we've become one big family. So we're so glad that you've joined us, that you watch us, and you share these things with your friends. Wouldn't you say, Ty?
yeah, we're just kind of the people that are just kind of pulling on the light bulb, helping it to turn on. That's it. We're just sharing, and then people's light bulbs wake up. They wake up, and it's just a blessing to be able to see that light bulb turn on.
Like these parents.
Yeah, just like this, and they get it, and they realize that they haven't been told the whole truth, and that there's more out there they can do to help them and their children be healthy. So here's a story. You want to read the title, honey, about vaccines? We'll talk about vaccines here, because vaccines, we just talked about an autistic child. Yeah, there's a link between vaccines and autism. CDC admitted it in their own document, so that's not even debatable anymore.
Yeah, hashtag CDC whistleblower, right?
Look up the CDC whistleblower, William Thompson, and watch the truth about vaccines. That's not even up for debate. Vaccines have been linked to autism. Let's get to this story.
Here it is. Infections in immigrants now pushing governments to mandate more vaccine injections for citizens who don't even carry the diseases.
So this is in UK, and there's a lot of immigrants coming in that are sick with hepatitis B. As of August 1st, 2017, the UK government is mandating that every newborn baby that's born in a hospital, home birth, you might be able to get away with it.
Right.
Every newborn baby born in a hospital in the United Kingdom has to receive the hepatitis B vaccine, because there's so many immigrants that are coming in. They're afraid that that's going to infect the entire population. Problem with this is a couple of things. Number one, it's the Infanrix jab. Okay, it's hepatitis B. I covered this in The Truth About Vaccines. That's got mercury and aluminum in it. Okay, so we got mercury and aluminum going into the brain of a newborn. It's also got polysorbate 80 that carries them through the blood-brain barrier. Here's the main problem with the math. The UK is saying that 95% of the people, the women with Hep B, are immigrants, right? So they're going to inject all the new babies. Here's where it doesn't make sense. More recent data produced indicated that the number of pregnant women infected with the virus increased from 1 in 700 to 1 in 250. Okay? 1 in 700 to 1 in 250. So it's about tripled the frequency there. So as a result of that, they're going to inject every newborn. Here's the disconnect. 1 in 200, they admit right here, 1 in 250 women have Hep B. That is the only baby that should have the Hep B vaccine, is the mother that's positive. 1 in 250. The other babies have zero risk of Hep B, because Hep B is only spread by sexual contact or intravenous drug injections, and there's no baby that's sexually active, and there's no junkie babies. So the only baby that's at risk is the 1 in 250 that the mother's infected. So by their own admission in this article, the other 249 babies should not take the Hep B vaccine. But they don't tell you that. They're like, oh, 1 in 700 and out of 1 in 250, we got to inject them all. The other 249 are not at risk.
This is one of the worst vaccines that you could take and put it in a newborn's little body. Their brain cannot handle the toxicity of the thimerosal, the aluminum, and this polysorbate 80 that's going to bring that heavy metal right into their brain. And then what happens? You've got SIDS. You've got babies with swollen brains that cry themselves to death, and they're not dying because of crying. They're dying because they're in so much pain. They're screaming into eternity.
It's brain inflammation.
Right.
It's brain inflammation is what it is. So anyway, that's an interesting article. It's a sad article because it shows the fundamental lack of common sense that the health authorities are using when mandating these vaccines. But we do have one last story for this episode of the Global Health News, and it's one that we want to bring you back up because we've covered some heavy stuff and give you some practical eating advice and food combo advice to help you fight, specifically in this article, prostate cancers. What's the combination, honey, that people could eat together that help to kill prostate cancer cells?
Well, this is a study that was done at the University of Texas in Austin, and they were pretty excited when they found that they saw something that helped prostate cancer that was selectively toxic only to the cancer cell, which that's exciting, isn't it?
Yep.
What's the combo? It is apple peel, turmeric root, and grape skins. Those three things combined together help to beat prostate cancer. And of course, that when they were taken, they tested it. It's such a high volume that it's not a volume that you would naturally eat, so that you could supplement with those things to treat and beat the prostate cancer. But you could also combine those things, eat them together as a great preventative, probably not only for prostate, but all kinds of different cancers as well. And the synergistic effect of these three are beating prostate cancer. That's good news.
Yeah. The apples contain quercetin and pectin. You've heard about quercetin. That's we've got a lot of research that's been done on it as far as its anti-cancer properties. Charlene already mentioned the turmeric. We've got thousands of studies that have been done on turmeric. Although you can't say that it has anything to do with cancer. Weird turn of events that sometimes people take turmeric and their cancer goes away. I don't think it has anything to do with the turmeric, of course, but studies have been shown that turmeric has an effect to help control cancer. Red grapes, also, the resveratrol that Charlene mentioned is something that's in red grapes. But then also the seeds contain vitamin B17.
Yeah, they didn't mention that, but that's in the apple and in the grapes.
Both seeds, yeah, the seeds of the apples and the grapes. So
because there's a grapeseed diet also that's another protocol.
Yeah, the reality is, folks, that once you start looking at all these different
many
natural substances, these foods that God has put on this earth, there's a anti-cancer effect in almost everything. And this is just one good combination that we learned about from the researchers at University of Texas. Thanks to Mike Adams, the health ranger, for putting this article out there. Again, combination of apple skins, red grapes, and turmeric have been shown to fight prostate cancer. And also with turmeric, if you add black pepper to it, that'll kind of make it more bioavailable.
Speaking of Mike Adams, I love the part in The Truth About Cancer, the Quest for the Cures, where he says, I dare you, something to the effect, can you even take a step in nature and not find something that treats cancer successfully? It's amazing. It's just like creation is just sprinkled with so many wonderful gifts, from the dandelion that we say is a weed to the cannabis, the plant that we're no longer allowed to grow, to turmeric, the apples, the grapes. I mean, wow, it's just everywhere.
Yeah, it is. And that's one of my favorite quotes, too, from the original Quest for the Cures. Mike Adams says that, when there are cancer patients that'll, stop at an oncological ward to get their cancer treated with chemo. On their way there, if they walk by some grass or woods or a forest, they probably walked by dozens of different substances that could better treat their cancer.
They just didn't know.
So that's our purpose. We want you to know. We want to help, to shine the light on these truths and give you the information and the knowledge that you need so that you and your family can all be healthy. So thanks for joining us. We've got more episodes of The Truth About Cancer's Global Health News coming your way over the next several weeks. So thanks, and God bless you.
Bye-bye.